before going to that question, we have a question from our remote attendee. Let me figure it out. If you're doing a game in the context of a software project, how would you get those ideas, like the things stick to the tree game? So in the context of a software project, how can you do this?
Okay, there's a couple of different ways to do innovation games and software projects. There's a friend of mine named Mike Griffiths. He has a blog called Reading Answers. He has a description of how he uses the games in software development. Some of the games that are really applicable for software development are Remember the Future, where you imagine a future end state and then work backward along all the steps in the project. A consulting firm called ThoughtWorks has adopted that game and they call them future perspectives instead of retrospectives. So they do that. Another game you can look at in software development is Speedboat, which is draw a boat that represents your software development process, and the anchors are all the things that you're doing that slow your process down. And there's a way to do process improvement. And the last game is we've got teams who will prioritize technical debt reduction through by a feature. So they'll create a list of items that they want to reduce technical debt in their system, and they'll put a cost on each item. And since you can't spend your entire time removing technical debt, they balance the technical debt choices with new feature choices by putting it into the by feature, and they let the team decide which is the most important aspect of technical debt to remove. Now, the reason it's important to do that through a game is not everyone is as vocal in a team of software developers as other people. Surprisingly, some software developers just prefer to be quiet and work. And so, by using the game online, the people who feel more quiet or may not be as vocal as some of the other team members can participate.
How about, is it different to apply these games with external customers than with internal customers?
Is it different?
Is there any difference in applying these games with internal customers and with external customers?
Yeah, there is. You most of the time you spend too much time talking internally than externally. That said, what you'll find is that with an external group of customers, if you're dealing with a really sensitive topic or something that is could be negative, you might want to bring in an outside facilitator for that, because sometimes it's really hard to run a game if it's about something that's negative or sensitive. But other than that, the games transfer quite well between internal and external players.
We have a question for the audience. Turn it on, please. Perdón, prende. Is there a difference according to your experience in different cultures?
Is there any difference in playing the games in different countries? That's the question.
Cultures.
In cultures. In different countries and cultures. Yes, there is. So far, we've played games in India, China, Japan, Germany, South Africa, France, London, Peru, Mexico, Canada. So we have seen a few differences in cultures. The biggest difference is in Asian languages. I'm going to really dip into something very deep for a minute, but I'm going to deal with linguistics and linguistic theory. So, Spanish and English are in the same branch of the linguistic tree, and so we have a tense of the verb in our language is called the future perfect tense of the verb. How will I have done something? In Asian languages, they don't have that tense of the verb. So I can say something like, in 2011, I will have been married 20 years. But in Asian cultures, they don't even think that way because language structure is thought, and they don't have that tense of the verb. So the one game that doesn't work around the world is Remember the Future, because it relies on a certain tense of the verb. The only other thing that we've noticed is that different cultures have different metaphors that they find better. So, for example, when you're doing the product tree, you would choose a tree that would be local to the culture. You know, you may not choose a maple tree. You know, in India we played with different tree shapes. But other than that, they translate very well.
Somebody asked if you consider yourself a patch tenant of IT these days.
Not until now.
What skills are required to be a facilitator?
Yeah, the question is, what skills are required to be a facilitator of the game? I think the most important skill is the ability to ask questions that are relevant to the players. And what I mean by that is that if you look at our client list, they're all software companies. They're all tech companies. And this deals with a very important question in facilitation. Some people say that you can facilitate anything if you're a good facilitator. Some people say that you should know something about what you're facilitating to get the best results. I am over here. I think that if you know something about what you're facilitating, you'll produce a better result because you can ask better questions. So I teach how to do innovation games because I teach other market researchers and other facilitators how to do this job. And there's a woman I know, for example, who's an expert in soap. Her name's Eileen. She knows more about soap than anyone I've ever known. She spent 20 years studying soap, how people use soap in their home, their work, I mean, everywhere. She's amazing. So she can facilitate games on soap better than anyone I know because she knows a lot about soap. So when you're facilitating the games for your products, as long as you can be comfortable with asking some questions, and I've got a whole bunch of advice in the book, or if you're worried about that, I've got a whole bunch of advice about how to ask questions, how to be calm, how to let the game unfold. But you